So what if the key to solving your biggest problems wasn't buried somewhere in your past, but was actually just waiting for you in your future? Today, we're going to dive into a way of thinking that does exactly that. It's called solution-focused therapy, and it's all about making a huge shift in perspective, moving away from what's broken and looking toward what's possible. You see, a lot of traditional therapy has us digging into the past, asking, why is this happening? What's the root cause? But solution-focused therapy, or SFBT for short, asks a totally different question. Instead of why is this broken, it asks, how do we build a solution? Now, this isn't about ignoring the problem, not at all. It's about aiming all of our energy at actually constructing the future we want to live in.
So what does that shift really look like in practice? Well, SFBT is what we call a competency-based model. And that's just a fancy way of saying it starts with one core belief, that you, the client, already have everything you need to make a change.
The whole philosophy here is that people aren't broken. Maybe their effectiveness is just temporarily blocked by a negative way of thinking. So instead of dissecting every past failure, the focus shifts completely to finding your strengths and building on your past successes, no matter how small they might seem.
This entire approach is really powered by a set of foundational beliefs. And these aren't just, nice ideas. They are the engine that drives the whole process forward. And they're what makes this future-focused method so incredibly effective. Let's walk through them. First off, you are the expert on your life. The therapist is just a collaborator, not the one in charge. Second, change is always happening. Our job is to spot the positive changes and build on them. Third, and this one is a real game changer, there are always exceptions. Times when the problem is a little smaller or maybe not even there at all. Fourth, even tiny, deliberate changes can create this huge ripple effect. And finally, building a positive future just creates so much more momentum than getting stuck in a negative past.
So when you have those beliefs as your foundation, the therapy session itself just completely transforms. It's not some kind of cold clinical analysis anymore. It becomes more like a collaborative workshop. The therapist isn't some expert telling you what to do. You're partners, literally working together to design a blueprint for the future you want to build.
And you know what? There's a really clear, logical structure to this whole building process. It starts with a brief description of the problem, just enough to get the context. Then you move really quickly to developing concrete goals. From there, you go on a hunt for those exceptions we just talked about. The therapist offers feedback, encouragement, and then together, you track the progress. It's this forward-moving, action-oriented cycle. Now, these goals are really specific. A well-formed goal isn't some vague wish like, I just want to be happy. No, it's small, it's concrete, and it's totally doable. It's also framed positively, what you will do, not what you'll stop doing. And it absolutely has to be something within your control.
So how is this actually done? Well, this is where we get to the really cool part, the toolkit. Solution-focused therapy relies on a set of incredibly powerful and deceptively simple questions. I like to think of them as the power tools you use to construct that new reality. The first tool is probably the most famous one. It's called the miracle question. Imagine this. You go to sleep tonight, and while you're asleep, a miracle happens, and the problem that's been bothering you is just gone, completely solved. But since you were asleep, you don't know what happened. So when you wake up in the morning, what's the very first little thing you'd notice that tells you, hey, the miracle happened? The absolute genius of this question is that it completely sidesteps the problem itself. It doesn't ask how you're going to solve it. It jumps straight to the finish line and asks you to describe in vivid, concrete detail what that solution actually looks and feels like. It makes an abstract idea feel real and tangible. The second tool is the scaling question, and it's beautifully simple. On a scale of 0 to 10, where 10 is that miracle future we just talked about, and 0 is the absolute worst things could be, where would you say you are right now? Okay, and what's just one small thing you could do to move from, say, a 3 to a 4? Scaling makes progress visible, right? It makes it less overwhelming, it helps you recognize that you're probably not starting at 0, and it breaks down that huge task of getting all the way to a 10 into the much more manageable, immediate goal of taking just one single step forward. Okay, next up are the exception-seeking questions. The therapist might ask something like this. Tell me about a time recently, even if it was just for a moment, when the problem wasn't there, or it was just less intense. What were you doing? What was different about that situation?
This is where you basically become a detective in your own life, searching for clues of success. These exceptions are proof that the problem isn't this constant, all-powerful thing. They're proof that you already have strategies that work. The whole goal is to find those moments and figure out, okay, How do we create more of them?
And finally, we have coping questions. Now, these are used when a client feels completely overwhelmed, like they can't even think of a single exception. The question gently shifts the focus away from the problem and onto their own resilience.
Coping questions fundamentally change the narrative. The story goes from "I'm failing" to "I am surviving." It's an incredibly powerful way to help someone recognize their own strength and resourcefulness, validating their struggle while empowering them at the very same time.
So let's bring this all together. What's the big takeaway here? How can you actually apply this forward-looking mindset to your own challenges? It really all boils down to one central idea about where real change actually comes from.
So here's the crucial point. Lasting change doesn't happen by endlessly dissecting what's wrong. It happens when you find the small things that are already right, those exceptions, those coping skills, those little moments of success, and you intentionally amplify them until they become the new normal.
So I'll leave you with this. For just a moment, forget about analyzing the problem. Instead, ask yourself, what exception, what strength, what tiny piece of the solution is already present in your life, right now, just waiting for you to notice it and help it grow?